This video is sponsored by airmodels.net. Okay, we've got to cut that before this gets hit with a copyright. The F-15, the Eagle.
I feel we're reading as eagles. No, bro. We look like assholes. They didn't turn out the way that I had envisioned. I'm getting more of a chicken vibe.
The fourth generation powerhouse. The plane with 104 air-to-air kills and 0 losses. The bomb truck, the spam ram, the GOAT, the champ, other titles, etc. Let's get into it. Now, most subjects we've talked about so far on this channel come from some kind of internal competition to select a new airframe for production. The X-35 and the X-32, the YF-22 and the YF-23, the YF-16 and the YF-17. But the F-15 didn't really have any competition, at least not internal competition. Let me introduce you to the MiG-25 Foxbat. Its first flight was in 1964 and it was unveiled in 67. And according to the Russians, this guy was the most deadly thing in the air. It could fly higher than ever before, faster than ever before, and further than ever before. At least that's what they wanted out of the plane. The truth is,
but you were unsuccessful?
Obviously.
it was kind of ass. It used steel rather than aluminum for its superstructure and thus needed to be overbuilt to even work. But from the Americans' point of view, it looked like those filthy commies had beaten them to the punch. The FX program, as it was known at the time, was already underway, looking to design a replacement for the Air Force's old F-4s. Robert McIntosh's F-111 had just been adopted by the Air Force, and it was a low-altitude kind of machine, not really to take on a high-flying air superiority jet like the MiG-25. The reveal of Russia's newest laser bear bullied the FX team members into making air-to-air effectiveness a top priority. McDonnell Douglas was the company that submitted the designs for the F-15. The project leads included George Graf and Don Malvern. They used the one good thing John Boyd did, the energy maneuverability equation thingy, to design an aircraft with, surprise, surprise, good maneuverability. Boyd and the fighter plane mafia bitched and moaned about how many gizmos and gadgets they were adding to the plane.
You're getting kind of fat.
They were ruining its dogfighting capabilities with, hang on, let me check my notes, missiles and radar and a radio and fuel. Pierre Sprague, God willing he's looking up at us right now, made a huge stink about it and introduced his concept, the F-XX, which, is a way cooler name because it has one more X than FX, which was just a list about as long as my dick of things he wanted to be taken off the F-15. So, not a super long list, but a decent list. Certainly not a small list, no. I mean, outside in November, the list might look a little short, but trust me, once you get your hands on it, you'll be mildly satisfied about how long this list is. This joke has gone on way too long. It was pretty much all the stuff I just listed. Missiles, radar, radio, fuel tanks, things fighter planes generally need. Luckily, nobody listened to him, and he died with his reputation in tatters.
Fucking hate you. I hate your guts. I hate your family. I hate your dog. I hate what you stand for. I wouldn't care if you got run over by a train tonight. I wouldn't care. I would just go on living my life. I don't care.
So you're probably curious about what they actually made after that.
I'll admit to a polite interest.
So the FX program cranked out the F-15. At first glance, you might mistake it for an F-14, but with fixed wings. And honestly, you're not too far off from that front. They're approximately equal size. I think the F-14 is just a little bit bigger when the wings are fully extended. Put an F-15 next to a C-130 and you kind of get the idea of what kind of scale we're talking about. And fun fact, the F-15 is actually still a variable geometry aircraft. Well, I guess if you count control surfaces, all planes are, but the Eagle has something other than that. The air intakes will adjust their position based on the jet's angle of attack, aka the angle at which the plane is pointing relative to its actual motion. This ensures that the engines are getting the best possible airflow at all times. It's something I didn't even know about until I played one of the games we're going to talk about later in this video. While the Eagle has traditional internal fuel tanks and the very common pylon-mounted external drop tanks, she can also be fitted with conformal fuel tanks, tanks that make her just a bit more thick without ruining her silhouette. A pretty revolutionary aspect is its use of look-down, shoot-down radar. In Vietnam, hostile fighters would skim treetops, causing interference with the radars being used on the F-4s at the time. The first F-15's radar was able to differentiate between background and enemy aircraft, which was a revolutionary technology for the time. Weapons-wise, we're looking at pretty much everything except anti-radiation missiles. When it's fully loaded up, it kind of looks like you covered the plane in super glue and had it roll around in Fox 3s. We're talking over a dozen AIM-120s as a standardized kit. As I mentioned in the intro, spam ram. As far as a bomb truck, some variants have the capacity to carry up to 15 JDAMs. It also comes standard with the Vulcan 20mm rotary cannon, just like most Air Force fighters. And it stands among the F-16 and F-35 as being nuclear certified, able to yeet the sun with the B-61 nuclear bombs. Now, there's a good handful of different F-15 variants to go over. The A and B are introductory models. The only difference is the B is a two-seat version for training, but could be used for combat if needed, just like the F-16A and B. These early F-15s just barely made it in before the end of Vietnam and thus didn't really get a chance to stretch their wings. Just a few years later, we saw the introduction of the C and D models, again the D being a two-seat. The F-15C is the version that's put in the most work in terms of air-to-air combat, which we'll talk about in a minute here. The E variant became known as the Strike Eagle and was a two-seat multi-role aircraft that favored ground attack. It's the CAS aircraft the A-10 wishes it was. You hear that, A-10? You suck! An upgraded version called the F-15EX just hit the market in the last few years. It's a 4.5 gen that features a full PCD and advanced system, but forgoes any low visibility capability. Worth saying that it costs almost double of what an F-35A costs, but hey, what the fuck do I know? It's claimed the EX can hit Mach 3 though. Worth it. There's also a few proposed models that never made it off the drawing board, including a carrier-capable naval variant that could carry AIM-54s, and a lower visibility variant with canted tails and an internal weapons bay. NASA got one and tricked it the fuck out, giving it both canards and two-dimensional thrust vectoring, and then upgraded again to three-dimensional.
Someone cooked here.
Japan, Israel, and Saudi Arabia all fly their own variants of the jet. Israel has a pretty cool feat under its belt in that an old F-15D landed with only one wing after a mid-air collision. The pilot didn't even know he was missing 30% of the aircraft until after landing. This boils down to the lifting body of the F-15, in which a decent amount of lift is generated from the fuselage, not just the wings. Boeing states it plans to keep supporting the newest F-15 models until the design is almost 100 years old. So, combat record of the F-15. It's undefeated. 106 kills to 0 losses. That's for all 15s, not just like one single one. A majority of those kills are from Israeli pilots, around 60. Funny enough, the first ever kill was an Israeli F-15 shooting down a Jordanian MiG-25, the very plane that gave the Eagle its Goku arc. The US also has about 30 shootdowns under its belt, mostly MiG-29s. It's also the only plane to ever shoot down a satellite. However, other countries shot the US some dirty looks because there's a bunch of treaties to not do military stuff in space, so that was a one and done kind of thing. Its kill count is one thing, but the 0 losses is a whole other aspect that really deserves some respect, especially considering we lost around 500 F-4s during its service period. A deathless run for the F-15 is a pretty well-earned accomplishment. Thanks for not helping, Pierre Spray. And now, I'm sure you want to hear me gush about how much I love VTOL and CFD-CS1. Well, we're getting to that. But first, I want to take a minute to talk to you about this video sponsor, airmodels.net. Models are cool as shit. The masculine urge to own a tiny detailed version of something big is universal, so you don't have to explain that to me. So if you want your own little F-15, check out airmodels.net. I got this sweet limited edition 75th anniversary one, but this video took too long to come out, so they're no longer available. That's on me. But you can get the same model with a standard livery via my affiliate link down in the description. It's a great way to get yourself something really nice and help support the channel. All the models from airmodels.net are die-cast metal and ready to put on the shelf. These aren't kits that you need to put together and paint. You don't need those little scissors the Gundam people use. Pull it out of the box, configure it how you like, show that bad boy off. Thanks again to airmodels.net for sponsoring this video. The F-15 features as the cover art for Ace Combat 6, but I'm gonna focus on 7 because it's the newest. Hey, when 8 comes out, we'll switch to that one. Anyway, F-15s in here are pretty standard. Good at everything, just like the real one. We have the C, E, and Japanese J models available. They can carry pretty standard munitions like AIM-132s, Iris-Ts, AIM-7s, AIM-120s, and unguided cluster bombs. All shit you'd expect to see these planes carrying. The C and E variants also have some lasers they can carry, but they're like fixed forward firing position, no gimbal. A cool thing that Ace Combat has a history of including is the F-15 STOL MTD, aka the really fucking cool NASA version. The version featured here is the one with the boxy 2D thrust vectoring, which in my opinion farms way more aura. In skies unknown, it can carry AIM-120Ds, AIM-9Xs, or a fuel air bomb for massive area damage. Project Wingman, which is essentially an Ace Combat clone, also has what they call the FS-15, which is pretty much the same thing, although it includes the much more boring looking but arguably more effective 3D thrust vectoring, with yaw entering the chat. It can carry gun pods, AIM-120s, AIM-7s, AGM-65s, and various sizes of bombs depending on what pylon you select. The more standard F-15 is here under the designation FC-15 and can carry pretty much all the same shit. If you haven't played Project Wingman, I highly suggest it. Hell, if you haven't played Ace Combat, why are you watching my videos? There's no way you're watching this video right now and you haven't played Ace Combat unless you're like my dad. Hi, Dad.
Cop, what's your opinion on the 19th Amendment?
Which one's that?
Right to vote.
Oh, I don't think anybody should have that. Haven't you heard? I'm a fascist. Which means I believe that only the most fashionable should be in charge of us. You know, like the...
I'm actually not actively playing ARMA at the moment. Life just got a little too full right now to dedicate to a big structured roleplay group. That being said, Arma 3 has mods for several F-15s, but today we're going to be taking a look at Firewell's F-15EX, the only time we'll see the EX in any game today. It's a 2-seat, just like the real one, but having a Wizzo in the back isn't just not necessary, but it's kind of useless. Any slightly skilled pilot will be more than effective flying this thing solo, so that's how I'd recommend it. The cockpit looks pretty good. I love the big PCD screen, 4.5 gen, baby. Now, Arma's UI for equipping munitions is pretty decent. You get a little layout diagram of the aircraft, and where each pylon is, there's a drop-down menu to select what goes there. The more mods you have installed, the more options will be there. Anyway, the F-15 has so many pylons to select, it borderline breaks the UI. This really gives a sense of just how much shit the Eagle can carry. Now, the F-15EX is pretty fast, and in my humble opinion, Arma doesn't do a good job of simulating fast-moving aircraft. NA-10, sure, nice and slow. C-130, also a decent representation. Helicopters, amazing. But something like this, it feels like Ace Combat physics. You're just too fast and too maneuverable. I saw the same thing in the F-16, the F-22, and the F-35. Yes, it makes the planes better in terms of effectiveness, but Arma is meant to be a milsim. Shit isn't supposed to be overpowered. It's supposed to be realistic. If you need an F-15, this one's pretty fucking badass, but maybe just calm down a bit the way you fly it.
Oh, Jen, I've got a real problem.
What's your problem, Amy?
I've got all this money, and I don't know what to do with it. And I'm hungry. Who's there?
Where's that coming from?
Yippee!
The F-15 is pretty much top tier no matter what tree you check, with it being available at the end of Israel, Japan, and US. There's no premium version of the jet, so get to grinding. The radar and payload capacity are certainly its strong points, just like you'd expect. Conformal fuel tanks are also available depending on the variant, really helping with its uptime when in sim games. Also worth mentioning, War Thunder is, I think, the only game where you have to make sure to equip countermeasures. I don't know, like Project Wingman does that too. Anyway, seems like an odd thing to not bring along. Other than that, shit man, it's War Thunder. Balance is always changing. Money is always flowing. And you guys really like Gen Tank and plane, so for the time being, it'll keep making videos, if anything, because playing it in VR is really cool, and it's almost guaranteed to have the plane I'm talking about. But I really don't have much to say about it. As far as I know, these are the only F-15Is that appear in any of these games, so while that's neat, there isn't much of a tangible difference. Other than that, it's a War Thunder plane, and all the accuracies, or lack thereof, that you expect. Big shout out to Dr. Javier for helping me get the footage of this section, and go check out his Balatro shit if you're into that sort of thing. This is the plane that made people fall in love with VTOL. Like, yeah, sure, the AV-42C did a good job at getting the game off the ground. Get off the ground. But when Baja Blast introduced the FA-26B, that's when the height for VTOL shot so high it was within range to launch on a satellite. Now, a lot of people will call the FA-26 closer to a Hornet than an Eagle. And I mean, not really. It's carrier capable, sure, but so is literally everything in VTOL, at least so far. The cockpit layout is also pretty close to an FA-18E. The rearmost control surfaces are also a closer match. And yeah, its nickname is the Wasp, which, you know, is pretty much the same as a Hornet. But a good 80% of this airframe is pure F-15. The wings and fuselage are almost direct lifts from the Eagle, down to the giant dorsal air brake and the moving intakes. This is the game I first learned about it, by the way. It's kind of hard to miss it when they're right next to your face. Payload capacity is closer to the F-15. The nose and vertical stabilizers are more F-22-ish, and you can see some techniques being used that would reduce the airframe's radar cross-section, specifically the midline ridge on the nose and the outward angle of the tail. Look, it's my video. I'm counting it as an F-15. Alright, the Wasp does have a few unique things that sets it apart from other aircraft. Its most notable is its ability to turn off the G limiter. This allows you to push the plane past what safe operation would be, giving the pilot more freedom to do more extreme maneuvers, but increasing the risk of a stall. While the T-55 can also do this, its thrust to weight ratio isn't really high enough to take advantage of that feature. It also carries more munitions than any airframe, with a whopping shitload of GBUs or assload of AIM-120s. It's the aircraft that has the highest skill ceiling in the game. A good pilot in the FA-26 can win against a bad or even mediocre pilot in the F-45. It's the go-to for competitive play, and for good reason. It's well-rounded, easy to learn, hard to master, and can carry a metric ton of fuck you. TCS has an interesting history with the F-15. Up until recently, there was a full fidelity F-15E available from the developer Razbam. There was some financial drama between them and DCS's main developer, Eagle Dynamics. I wasn't fully caught up on the situation, so I actually reached out to Razbam and was able to interview one of the developers from the F-15E project, who was able to fill me in all the nuance of the situation.
It's basically a house of cards where the dickheads at the bottom do all the work and give all the money to the smart guys up at the top. All right, now we get...
Anyway, the F-15E module was taken down. You can no longer get it. If you have the module now, it'll still work for a while, but without any updates or support, it will eventually die and become unusable. But there is another F-15 in DCS, the F-15C. Now the C here isn't full fidelity, but part of the Flaming Cliffs pack. These are lower fidelity modules that don't have clickable cockpits. Everything you need to press must be bound to a keybind. That makes them play like a slightly more complicated version of nuclear option planes. Important data is still displayed on the cockpit, like radar, RWR, but you just can't use the mouse to click on it. It's pretty good if you don't want study level shenanigans, but still want to play DCS. The pack that includes the F-15 also includes an A-10A, Su-25, 27, 23, and a MiG-29A and S. Eagle Dynamics has announced that they're working on a full fidelity F-15C, but that's at least 2 weeks away.
The missile knows where it is at all times. It knows this because it knows where it isn't. By subtracting where it is from where it isn't, or where it isn't from where it is, whichever is greater, it obtains a difference or deviation. The guidance subsystem used
BMS, the mod for Falcon 4.0, has a full fidelity F-15C. It's my understanding that this thing is a modded aircraft, 100% developed and maintained by the community, which, holy shit guys, good work. BMS has a few other aircraft included, so we'll definitely be back in here. As far as I know, this is the only actual full fidelity F-15 available right now since Razbam's has been taken down. So if you didn't get that, this is your best option. It's not as accurate or in-depth as the F-16, seeing as this is an F-16 simulator first and foremost, but until ED puts out their shiny new F-15C module, this is top of the food chain. It's the C model, so not a pound for air to ground. Load up on the AIM-120s and fox through your way across Korea, I guess. BMS's graphical fidelity being extremely lower than DCS's helps a lot with performance on lower end machines and helps a lot with VR support. If for whatever reason you're a huge F-15 fan and didn't already have Razbam Strike Eagle, head over to BMS because, for now at least, it has the best F-15 in gaming. Okay, I know. this shit took forever to come out. I'm sorry. The last 6 months or so have been crazy in my personal life. I really appreciate your patience on me getting this one made. I actually went to the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio to record a bunch of footage of me standing in front of the F-15C they have on display there, but the audio was just really bad and I couldn't use any of it. Well, I guess I'm using it here to show you now, so that's cool. The camera quality also wasn't great. I really need like a DSLR or something. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and a comment, especially if I got anything wrong. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, then consider subscribing if you're not already. I also have a pretty decent library of other videos, both like this and some a little different. And hey, maybe show this video to a friend. Drop the link in the group chat, print out the thumbnail and a link and mail it to your uncle. If you really want to go above and beyond, I have Patreon where you can give me money to buy more model airplanes. And speaking of model airplanes, check out the affiliate link to airmodels.net to get your own F-15. I really want to give a big thanks to my co-pilot tier Patreon, Opie Taylor. Thank you, and thank the rest of you for watching. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.